Welcome to the Flex Diet Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Mike T. Nelson. And today on the program, I've got my buddy Andrew, and we're doing a wide-ranging fitness conversation, everything from movement strategies of elite athletes and what we can learn from them in terms of principles to some Feldenkrais work. How do you do the other end of the fitness spectrum, the very low level movement, and why that is very important? We also touch on zone 2 and even zone 3 cardio, even high intensity cardio, what is really true high intensity, and get into a discussion of the Tabata study and much, much more. So I think you will enjoy this conversation with Andrew. And as always, this is brought to you by the Flex Diet Certification. If you want to learn more about flexible dieting meets metabolic flexibility, so you can increase your performance and still improve your body composition at the same time, check out flexdiet.com, FLEXDIET.com. It will be opening again for sure in early January 2023. So you can go to flexdiet.com and get on the wait list there. So thank you so much as always for listening, and enjoy this conversation with my buddy Andrew Heffernan. Hey, welcome back to the Flex Diet Podcast. And I'm here today with my buddy Andrew. How's it going, bud?
Very good. I'm doing great. How are you, Matt?
I guess you should probably maybe formally introduce yourself and tell us what you do out there in California. Obviously, you've been working as a trainer for quite a while, but you do some other cool stuff we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, my name's Andrew Heffernan, and I've been in the industry in various ways since about 2003. Been, of course, athlete in my own right for much longer than that, but certified 2003 in a couple different modalities. I have a CSCS. I did an NSM certification back then, and I started a one-on-one training business, just like most people do from the beginning. And at that point, or right around that point, I was also developing as a writer. I had a fitness blog. If we remember
Yeah, I
blogs.
remember that. I had a
Yeah.
blogger was my first fitness account in 2005,
Yeah.
2006.
That's about when I started doing it. And it was, I guess, a small enough field so that I was, as a result of my blog, I was approached by Jen Sinkler, who was then the fitness
I know
editor.
Jen.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
Experience Life. Yeah, exactly. He hooked you and me up actually with.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's great. And so she asked if I'd done any magazine writing. I said no, but she said, "Do you want to?" We said, "Sure." That was 2008 or nine, and I've been writing for them since then. And I've since spread the wings a little bit. I write for Men's Health, and I've written for T Nation and Audit, and the now defunct Muscle and Fitness, and a bunch of other outlets online and off, Open Fit, Beachbody. I have this sort of sideline as a freelance writer, freelance health and fitness writer. And that's hooked me up with a lot of great people, again, yourself included. It's been great because I get to have personal one-on-one calls with some of the best people in the industry and just pick their brains under the guise of researching an article. So I do that. And then around 2009, I had worked with clients for about 6 years at that point, and I felt like there was something missing in my skill set, in that I would have people who would come and say, "Oh, I have this or that limitation and this or that pain and this or that difficulty." And I would throw everything that I knew at them, but it wasn't enough. They would still leave in pain, or I just didn't have a subtle enough or complete enough picture of how to work with people who were not only in pain, but also who wanted more refinement in the way that they were trained. And so I thought back to a previous life in which and I'm telling stories in all kinds of the wrong order here, but a previous life in which I got an MFA in theater back in
Hmm.
late 90s.
Oh, I
So
didn't know that.
yeah, so I'm an actor as well as many other things. And I remember this guy who'd come in and done this thing called the Feldenkrais method. And he laid us all as actors down. We were all like super like charged up and all done all this exercise. We're all super fit. He had us lay down on the floor and do these really subtle, small movements. And of course, in our heads, we're just going, what is this? What's the point of this? Let's go up. Let's do some push-ups. Let's jump up and down just so I can do a movement class. And there's about half an hour of different little movements, very subtle. And you're just spinning off in your head about how useless this all appears to be. And then we all got up and we looked around and everybody was standing in the most kind of beautifully open, neutral, relaxed kind of posture imaginable. Faces were relaxed, the breath was dropped, and all of a sudden, I mean, if you're talking about it in terms of theater and acting, it's like you were much more available, much more open, and you were like, oh my gosh, now I want to get on stage and do something because I'm like, I'm open, I'm free. And all the guys had all their tension, their upper body tension, and all that stuff. They just totally dropped. You look like athletes as opposed to jacked up bro types. This is
Yeah.
true of the women as well. And so, anyway, I thought back, now jumping back again to the sort of early 2000s, I was like, I want to explore more of that. And so I looked into it. I see it's a 4-year certification program. It's pretty intense. It was actually in San Diego. And you go down to the training center for about a week every 2 months or so for 4 years.
Wow.
And you learn to teach this methodology of the movement on the floor. You learn to work with people hands on as well. So there's that modality as well. In some ways formally resembles massage, although the people are clothed and you're not really trying to work on, you're not using hard pressure in the muscles like you would in rolfing or even regular massage. You're more lifting and moving, and it's a learning or teaching process as opposed to you work on the nervous system as opposed to working on soft tissue and muscles and really trying to affect changes. And I've had really good success with it as far as helping people feel better, reduce pain, reduce stress. The funny thing about Feldenkrais is usually people come to you when they're at the end of the line. That is, they've
Mhm.
had pain that doesn't stop and they've done everything. And so they decide to do this weird thing that they can't pronounce. So I've had very good success again, chronic pain people, back pain, certainly. But what I like just as much is working with people who don't necessarily have those issues, who are coming to me with performance needs, right? They want to move better. They want to be stronger. They want to be more flexible. They want to perform better in any kind of, any number of different ways. And when you work with someone like that, like I've worked with high level martial artists, black belts, third degree black belts in Aikido and such. And the great thing is that I don't have to be an Aikido master to get that person better. You know what I mean? I just
Yeah.
have to move them around a little bit, coach them through how to feel their shoulder blade, their rib cage, and how these things all work together. And they stand up and then they apply all that kind of learning to their expertise. And they go, oh my gosh, now it's 10 times easier to move this person or to execute this throw or to do this jump or whatever it is. And I don't really know why Feldenkrais hasn't broken through in the way that, say, Pilates or yoga, but acupuncture or certainly PT, all these different kind of modalities, body work. I don't know really why it hasn't broken through because I was sitting there during the training going, oh my gosh, this is the undiscovered country. This is the missing piece in fitness because it's about efficiency. It's about providing that foundation of efficiency, ease of movement. You could then apply in everything above it. So, I mean, you could apply it and your nervous system would just do it. But if you had a Feldenkrais session, you went out kiteboarding, you would suddenly feel the board underneath you with much greater acuity. You would feel that kite more, your sensitivity to where that kite was and where the wind was would just be off the charts. You would suddenly feel like, and at the end of your 2 hour, 3 hour, whatever it is on the water, you wouldn't feel as wrecked. You would feel like, oh, wow, I feel good. Things work together well. So that's a brief introduction to what I do, that one little piece of what I do. We can talk more about it, but that's the big picture.
No, and I think we're talking today, interesting discussion about body work maybe or movements. And I think from the outside, a lot of these things appear very different, right? So I'm biased. I do a lot of reflexive performance reset or be activated training, which is Doug Heel's stuff, depending upon where I'm at and what the legality of it is and all that kind of stuff. But looking at it from me working on someone, it looks horrible. It's incredibly painful, but yet to me, I'm trying to get this to the same place you are at the end of a session. It's just taking a different route, even though it's still working on the nervous system.
Yeah.
So I always find it fascinating how physiology, there's multiple routes to the same outcome. But I think there's a lot of probably too much debate online, which I try not to participate in, of my method's better than your method, and I'm trying to do this, and you're trying to do that, and it looks like you're not doing anything because you're just standing there barely moving people. And I'm doing this high pressure ART, stripping the muscle, altering the fascia, whatever. But I think in reality, a lot of the methods are probably more similar than they are different, but they appear quite different. Does that make sense to you at all?
Complete, absolutely. And it's the people who have the modalities that are really close that get into the biggest argument, right?
Oh, yeah, by far.
I'm sure, like as a death metal fan, I'm sure there's versions of this. Oh, this band that does things like
Yes.
this is so much better than this one that does it just a little.
Yeah, this tech metal band is better than this deathcore band. I'm like, I don't know. They're both pretty cool to me.
Everyone's just trying to stake out their territory. And it's funny because Feldenkrais, Moshe Feldenkrais, the founder of the method, he and or his students got into a pretty intense debate with this guy, FM Alexander. Do you know the Alexander technique, which is kind
Totally.
of a slightly better known version of dealing with very similar principles. And of course, some Price and Alexander's people just was like, I don't know, the Montagues and the Capulets. They're just like getting into their most
The
extreme.
Catholics and the Lutherans. You're almost like the same religion. I know that pisses people off, but I grew up Catholic, so I can say that.
No, I think you're absolutely right. I guess the territory, the zone that Feldenkrais operates in, that I think is valuable, that particular people in the fitness world aren't exploiting as much as they could, or using as much as they could, is that super low intensity. This is sort of the theme that you came up with for this podcast, that there's value in taking that background noise of effort down to almost zero. And what that allows you to do is to sense with much greater sensitivity what's going on in your nervous system. That's why that's why you roll around on the floor. It allows those like sensor muscles and those posture muscles to just completely relax. So you can make really fine distinctions between levels of effort. That's essentially what you're doing. Again, it's a teaching learning modality. It's not about, so it's nervous system out as opposed to muscles and peripheral nerves in, right? So you're teaching those nerves to sense much more finely what's happening. And as a result, you can refine your movement skills pretty much in an unlimited way. In fitness, I feel like we're in many ways addicted to intensity, right?
Oh, yeah. CrossFit, other Orange Theory, a whole bunch of places I should stop naming before I get sued.
Oh, but they're gonna come all over it. That's half the reason CrossFit became so popular, is that we go, and there is a dopamine response to that. There is a
100%.
absolutely. I mean, I was interviewing Kelly McGonigal recently, a psychologist from Stanford, and she was talking about how you learn to love those friends of ours who don't care about fitness or don't really care about exercise. They're always looking at us funny, going, "Why do you do that? I did 10 sets of 10 on the deadlift or whatever
Yes.
today." They go, why? And you don't understand. It actually is weirdly pleasurable. And that's something that you develop. You get more and more sensitized to those reward hormones the longer that you do it. But there's a danger to that, right? Because you do too much intensity, and it's very strong medicine, right? You start doing that more, and then your progress just totally tanks, or you get injured, right?
I think the
feel
big
like
thing there is measuring effort, not output. And I think I love CrossFit. I love all that stuff. I think it's great. I think CrossFit's done a ton of positive things for the fitness industry. There's no question. But I think because of the modality and the amount of variability, it's very easy to get lost in effort and not output. Right. So with clients, I always try to associate, and I'm sure you probably do the same, of one of the reasons I love using the rower is you can't run from the output. Like, it gives you the output automatically. You don't have to calculate it. You don't have to go anywhere else. And if your average watts on a 30-second on, 30-second off, you're doing for rounds, and it's just tanking, it will feel utterly horrible. But then you have to decide, am I doing this just because it's hard, or do I really want to get better? Because at some point you're actually getting better at getting worse and just doing things that are hard.
That's a great point, Mike. Yeah, I think that's totally true. And this is, and you totally sold me on the benefits of HRV as well.
Oh, yeah.
This feedback, this objective feedback from your body that says, how you doing today?
Yeah.
And you can up and be like, I'm going to go and crush it in the gym. And your HRV is like, don't do it, buddy.
And you might be able to do it that day, but you're correct that you're not going to do that day in and day out. right? There's a cost that's going to be paid. And at some point, it's just going to keep coming because your body is just eventually going to be like, okay, that's it. We're pissed. Like your output is going to be so dog shit now. You're going to be shut down, whatever word you want to use, that it's going to make you pay attention, or you're going to get pain, or you're going to get injured, or you can only run from it so long.
That's true. And was it Dan John who said the goal of trainers, the job of a trainer is to keep a goal, right?
Yes. I love
So
that.
yeah, it's such a simple idea, but if the goal is to get stronger, better, build more muscle, whatever it is, and your body's telling you your output's crap today, it's not going to help you to just keep bashing away at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so yeah, there's without those objective measures and forms of feedback, like you said, there's just this tendency to think, all right, as long as I'm going to the gym and crawling out, covered with sweat, I'm doing the right thing. And in fact, it's not always true. The other joke that I had is like, if there's no low intensity modality that fitness industry can't stick the word power in front of and play heavy metal music and make that a thing. So power yoga,
That's my first thought. Yeah.
power yoga, the foam rollers, not just foam rollers, but foam rollers with like metal spikes.
Yep.
And literally today, not to go off on myself because I write for them, but I saw an article today in the new issue that was like, we're doing a meditation class that's combined with high intensity interval training. And I go, isn't it just seemed like madness to me. And you talked about this as well, that we have this idea, the highest intent, like exercise is best at its highest intensity. And then if you can't handle super high intensity, you got to go down to the easier stuff, right? This is an erroneous CrossFit idea that if you do high intensity stuff, it takes care of everything underneath it. Right?
Yeah.
And
It takes care of a lot, but
not everything. Absolutely not. And then if you want to get better at that high intensity stuff, you need to go back and do some of that low. At some point, you need to go back and fill in those gaps like the aerobic stuff and do a little bit more of the ease stuff so you can get that parasympathetic system going so that you can find those peaks at the right time. He's Joel Jameson. I don't know if he's brilliant.
I love Joel. Yeah, I've known Joel for years. Yeah.
He's amazing. And what he talks about, and I don't know if you saw his breakdown of this, not too long ago, he put out an email, just something on his website where he accrued all the data from his Morpheus users, his app, which is about, just for listeners, it's an HRV tracking app, and it gives you feedback on your performance day to day. And he's got hundreds of thousands of data points, workouts, and then people's progress over time. And the people that are making the best progress conditioning wise are not the guys that are going in 5-6 days a week and crush on high intensity interval training. They're the people that do hundreds of minutes of low intensity stuff, that boring old zone 2 stuff, and then maybe 30, 45 minutes of medium intensity, and then maybe 11 minutes of the high intensity stuff a week, right? And those are the people that over time, this isn't just grandma, these are like athletes. These are people that are making the best progress over time, are the people that are working the aerobic system, just low intense. And then now and then just hitting that high peak to say, okay, we can do this. And the rest of the time they're doing easy stuff. It's just a good reminder that you got to back off, you got to pump the brakes, and that easy stuff isn't just a filler, isn't just kind of junk miles. It's actually very efficacious in terms of building fitness and performance.
Yeah. My cutoff, again, if you use a rower, you could use a bike, you could use whatever.
Yeah.
To me, like high intensity stuff, right? So everybody goes, oh, the Tabata study, right? Which I'm sure you've written about probably many times and heard about.
Yeah.
I have to do a whole article on this because it still bugs me and it's one of those things that'll never go away. But if you read the actual Tabata study, it was designed for high level athletes, and the output that was measured on a bike was 170% of their VO2 max. So very high. 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off. So not only is it's less than 1-to-1 rest, and it was designed for high intensity athletes to literally not finish all the rounds at that output.
Yeah.
And I don't think people understand how hard 170% of your VO2 max is on a bike or a rower or something like that. It's ridiculous. And to me, that's like the highest of high intensity, like 100% to 170%. And if you're really doing that at that output, whatever is normalized for you, so everyone's going to be different. Even 10 minutes in a session is absolutely horrible.
No, Yeah. I think there was speed skaters, right? And
Yeah,
it collapsed and I think they were doing six. So they were doing
yeah,
20 seconds on, 10 seconds off, six of those. So 3 minutes, right?
yeah,
And like you said, high level elite athletes, and they could not complete it. So,
yeah.
oh, let's do Tabata curls.
It's about a preacher curls. That's my favorite.
What? Right. It's like, you are so far off base. Yeah. And they only, 3 minutes. Right. So it's not like you're going to do a whole, the idea that you could do an hour is just, it's laughable. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you think
So,
in fitness now what I'm seeing is almost an overreaction to zone two stuff now, right? Because the fitness industry is prone to these massive pendulum swings from one side to the other side. And I'm seeing so I've had a few people now with just questions of, I don't know, I've been doing my zone two stuff at my heart rate, and I've been doing it for 3 to 4 hours a week, and I've been doing that for a year now.
mm,
Thinking, holy crap. What I've seen with people is, yeah, I think that's helpful for an aerobic base, especially if your VO2 max is low. I think it's good. Maybe to go back and do a few periods of readdressing it for 4, 6, 8 weeks in some cases per year totally makes sense to me. But it seems to be this idea being perpetuated that to be healthy and for longevity, that you need to do 2 to 3 hours a week for the rest of your life. And to
yeah.
me, that seems also insane at the same time.
No, I agree with you. One of the big ongoing discussions that I have with editors at the fitness magazines where I work is talking more about the sweep of what to do over the course of months and years, as opposed to here's the cool workout you can do today.
Yeah.
Great. Do a cool workout today. That is so awesome. But the fact is, as you were just saying, what is happening over time? What is happening over the year? What is your long term? And it's can't just again, most people just go with the immediate feedback of I feel sweaty and tired and sore. Awesome. Great. But as we just discussed, that's not get you where you want to go over time. Yes, I think you're right as far as the zone two stuff and as far as the high intensity, there's time and a place. So the question always is again, the Dan John thing. What's your goal over this year, this 6 months? Is it just to lose fat and gain muscle? And that's what most people default to. But can you break it down a little more specifically? And can you think, okay, what we do during these three months that's going to get us closer to that, and this 3 months, and this 3 months, and then that's the same thing over time. I just did the. Do you know what DECA race is? You
I'm familiar. Is that the one where it's supposedly like 10 different events? Is that right?
like that? Yep, it's 10 different events and same DECA, and it's all gym based. So you've got a
Yeah.
rower, you've got a ski erg, you've got an assault bike, and you've got a bunch of other things. Oh, a sled that you push, and some burpees with a heavy ram and stuff like that. And so I just participated in the world champions of that in
Oh, nice.
Atlantic City. Very fun. And I worked with a guy. I'd never really worked with a trainer before. And I was like, my goal is to be in the top five in my age group at the world championships. Okay. So I started in August and it's pretty simple as far as the format of the training. Started out with some fairly low intensity stuff, just building that. And then over time, we're going to get more specific, faster and faster. And then we're doing mock races and then went into the race. And I was number 4, which is great.
Nice. That's
Um,
awesome. Congrats.
Thank you. But at this point, I'm like, I don't want to touch anything high intensity. I want to
Yeah.
do mock races. Like, I want to get away from that. I want to lift some heavy weights. I want to put some muscle back on. And then in 4 months or so, I'll start climbing that ladder again. So it's a pretty well-known idea, the periodization idea, where you sweep through the whole year and then you reach a peak and then you go back again. How do you do with your clients? How do you do it when people just have the general goal, the aesthetic goals that most people have? Do you work with a year-long kind of idea or how do you work?
Yeah. I switched, man, 4 years ago now to the minimum I work with people is 6 months. And
Uh-huh.
in reality, I probably should have changed that much sooner. And I haven't had any one-on-one spots open for a while, but I'm even thinking of changing it potentially to a minimum of a year. So I've
Mhm.
either 6 months or a year. And then after that, it's just months and months. So they can stay as long as they want. And what I found was it's much easier because I'd run them through the whole friggin' week assessment in some cases.
Yeah.
Right. So everything from 100 meters on the rower to if they're a moderate level athlete, maybe even a 5K or a 20-minute on the rower. And you do different days. You do lactate stuff. You do a 2K. bunch of breathing assessments, movement, blah, 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 all this stuff. Because what I'm trying to figure out is exactly your question. What is their rate limiter, right?
Mm.
So for some CrossFit people I worked with, their Metcon times weren't getting any better. One guy in particular, it's if you want to go to regionals, here's the stats of the people are lifting in regionals, and your main lifts are about 150 pounds below their 1RM. So
Mm.
I'm like, hey man, it's probably going to be 1, 2, maybe 3 years. You've been lifting for a while. You're obviously strong, but that kind of strength is going to take years, not months. He ended up not hiring me. And then
Curse
some
you
of
for
the
telling
other
the truth.
uh, and some other athletes, it was like, hey, your aerobic base just sucks because you're metconning yourself to death. And yeah, you can beat people in your but when you compete outside your gym on a multiple day event or even a long single day event, you just get the floor mop because you can't recover. Your
Right.
aerobic base is so low, you just can't recover. And a couple of them who did stick with the program went back, worked them up to high intensity, did really good. A couple of them, their ego couldn't quite handle it because I told them, like, hey, the reality is, I know you're a gym owner and you like beating people in Metcons at your gym, but during this phase, they're all going to beat you, like pretty much every single one of them, because
Yeah.
it's not going to be our goal. You have a limited amount of time. You've only got an hour to train each day, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And the one person, she ended up firing me like 2 months into it. She's like, I just can't do it. And she went
Yeah.
back and just started doing Metcons at her gym. And last I heard, she's still doing Metcons at her gym. So it's a hard thing to figure out, okay, what is the rate limiter? And then from even the psychological standpoint, how do you address that? And then if the goal is gain muscle, lose fat, you can do some recomp for a while. Your nutrition's a floating trash bin fire on wheels, then you can definitely see some benefits there. But at some point, you're probably going to have to prioritize, right? You're going to say, okay, let's take this period of time. Let's keep bumping up calories. Let's try to add some more muscle, but you're not going to turn into a fat slob overnight. But you're going to probably need to be in a caloric excess. And that's got to be the main driving goal. And then take the old school bodybuilding approach, 2, 3, 4 months, whatever. Work on more fat loss as a goal. Keep as much muscle as you can. Kind of rinse and repeat.
Yeah.
And I've just noticed, you probably noticed the same thing, that the higher people get in terms of closer to their genetic potential, especially without drugs, then you just have to be more and more intentional. If you've never really lifted before and you're like even moderate, yeah, you can probably keep doing a recomp thing for quite a while and
Yeah.
do pretty good. So I think the art is trying to figure out how specialized do you need to get? Because in a perfect world, if you can have somebody recomp with what they're doing, that's better, right? Most people like that. They're like, I'm getting bigger and leaner at the same time. But the reality is that's probably not going to happen for most people. So then you can't ride two horses with one ass forever. So you got to pick one horse and go in that direction for a period of time and then change directions.
Yeah. And I think that's, as you alluded to with your CrossFit athletes, that is a challenge for people to take
Oh,
their eye off.
100%.
Like, oh, I got a six pack. Okay, now we want to gain some muscle. So that six pack might get a little blurrier for a while. I can't handle it.
Yeah.
Or like you said, you might have to, your Metcon time might slow down for a little bit. I can't handle it because they're so attached to their current capabilities that getting a little bit away from them just freaks them out too much. And then it's interesting that they hire, what to my mind, is one of the smartest trainers out there. And then they wind up firing you because you had a different way of getting it.
Yeah. I mean, I've gotten better at telling people up front, okay, here's what we're going to do, especially after running through the assessment. I'm like, yeah, it's going to suck. I'm like, there's no way around it. Or you can just go back to doing what you're doing before. That's fine. It's not my goals. But yeah, it's hard and I also get it because it's much harder when it's yourself. I found it's harder when you're a trainer because a lot of trainers, that's your life. You're a gym owner, you're a trainer. This is your whole identity. And that gets into the whole other thing of maybe you should think about changing your identity to I'm X person who enjoys training, happens to be a gym owner, likes doing CrossFit, and not have it be just the only thing you're all about, because that's going to come to an end at some point for everyone.
Yeah.
And that I think if it's not their whole identity and it's just something they do and love, those people I found it's much easier for them to change gears. And there's been a lot of very top level, Chris Henshaw's worked with a lot of top level CrossFit people where all he did was go back and readdress their aerobic base. And they have a whole year, in some cases, a 2-year plan to do it. You know, in some cases that meant not competing at the games. And these are people who we're placing very well, top 12, top 15, top 10 sometimes.
Yeah.
And so I always think it's interesting to see, do you have the mental discipline to trust someone to take time away to readdress the things you need to potentially be that much better in the future? That's a hard thing to do. It's not an easy thing to do.
No, totally. I totally agree. And CrossFit is so demanding in that regard, like, because you're asking the body to be great at so many things, high
Yeah.
levels to elite at so many different things. The Deca race was hard enough, but it's basically one idea and working at anaerobic threshold for about 14 or 15 minutes. And so aerobically and conditioning wise, that's fairly standard in terms of how to train for it. But then if I was also supposed to snatch 275 pounds and do 20 pull-ups and all this other stuff, totally lost. Those guys are just total freaks. I interviewed Marcus Philly not too long ago. You know, he was 12th in the games. That was his peak, 2017 or so. And the kind of things he was going through. And he was already elite level before he even started doing CrossFit. He was an elite soccer player, golfer, just a really fantastic athlete. And also the way he's built is just like freakish. It's like the level muscle mass and the level conditioning he can sustain just year round. You just don't see people like that. And he talked about how he got his 12th and basically after, so 12th was the highest he got. And after that, it was like, I had to just completely basically do nothing for 6 months because just asking the body to do so many things at such a high level is so intense on the body. It's so stressful. So anyway, I'm glad I never went into that. Yeah. Yeah. What else we got? What else you want to talk about?
I think going back to the Feldenkrais thing, what do
Okay.
you think is a role for ultra low intensity? My perspective, I just had a call with another guy this morning, especially the fitness professionals. And I got this, my buddy, Dr. Ben House talked a lot about this too. My main go-to question now is, hey, what do you do for fun? Do you do any recreation at all? No, man, I love lifting weights. I love doing interval training, all this hard stuff. And I'm like, I do ice baths twice a day now. And I'm like, cool, I love all that stuff. I think that's awesome. But do you meditate? Do you chill out? Do you walk in the woods? And then learn a new sport. Like obviously I'm biased to kiteboarding, surfing, play golf, tennis, play pickleball for all I care. Use other parts of your brain to put yourself in a unknown, random environment that's not pegging your max heart rate all the time. Because I think there's a lot of benefit from that. And on the low end of the spectrum, I think there's a ton of benefit from low level movement, walking, even no movement, meditation. Do you feel like Feldenkrais plays a role in that sort of ultra low end, learning more just about movement of your body without being in this huge stressful environment?
No doubt. Yeah. I mean, I've been pleased to see that meditation has started to come up as a beneficial thing for fitness people across the board. Actually, it's become more and more accepted. As soon as you get the hardcore people say meditation is great, I don't know, then it allows the bros to go, oh, it's cool because
Yeah.
whatever. Tony Robbins or whoever says it.
Yeah.
But yeah, Feldenkrais is totally in that zone. I feel like everyone who says, oh, I meditate, they always add, I'm not very good at it. Which
Yeah.
is
No one's very
but
good at it, I don't think.
maybe some Shaolin monks get pretty good at it.
Yeah.
But no, I think that's the idea is that you're not supposed to get good at it, but it's self-observation. Learn just how much crap is going on in the mind at any given time. And then you get maybe a little bit better at calming those voices and getting a little objective about your internal state. And what's cool about Feldenkrais, especially for people who find that challenging, just that kind of to look into the void and just keep focusing on your breath, is it gives you a different point of focus. So, you know, if you're just sitting there or lying on your back or whatever, and you have the coach, in my class versus me, just direct your attention to some particular sensation. Maybe it's something in your foot, right? Or your toes, your hand, whatever it is. So you could just do it just sitting there. You could go, okay, what are my big toes doing? Where are they? How much sensation do I feel? Do I feel the contact of my big toe with my second toe? Do I feel the contact of my big toe with the bottom of my shoe or with the bottom of the floor? And you can get very specific just dialing the radar in a way on that particular part of your nervous system. And then, so this is even before they even bring it movement into it. Most Feldenkrais sessions start with a scan of your body, just how much sensation is coming in. So you can start with, again, lying on your back. Where do you feel the contact of your back with the floor? And that in itself can be a really fascinating kind of exploration. because people's backs contact the floor in totally different ways based on time of day, based on injury history, based on your mood, based on how much stress you have. So you can feel your upper back is typically going to be on the floor, your pelvis is going to be on the floor. And then people have a little bit arch in the low back and then behind the neck as well. You lie there, you do a few little movements over time, those postural muscles start to gradually lose their tonus, right? Or relax a little bit and lengthen out a little bit. And then you can lie down and go, oh my gosh, my back is more fully on the floor. Okay, how does that feel? And that's a whole, and it's just so basically what's happening is your whole spine is lengthening out. And it's not because you stretched, it's not because you foam rolled it with that spiky foam roller or got in there with some tool and cramped in the muscle. No, it's just by bringing your awareness, your attention to what's happening in the spine. Maybe you're doing some small movements, but it's never stretchy. It's never, the intention isn't to affect the tissues, it's to affect the nervous system and go, just become more aware fundamentally of what's happening, how much tension, how much effort is running through your system. And all of us walk around with way more tension than we need all the time. Most
Oh,
of the
yeah.
time, we're just not aware of it at all. We're
Most
just
of it
like
we're unconscious to it.
completely unconscious. It's like we're walking around with 60-pound stone on our back. And then, oh, I feel fine. What Feldenkrais can do and go, what if we just put that down? What's going to happen? Not scolding, not like you're doing something
Yeah,
wrong.
yeah.
It's just like, let's give you the experience of walking around without that on your back. And you go, well, why do I do that? It's habit. It's what we do, all the sitting that we do, it's stress. And that's like socialization. Guys want to walk around looking like they have a huge neck, arm, whatever. And so they walk around with this tension, bodies.
My wife
That's
called
part.
that. A friend of ours did that once. He entered a room and we were trying to remember his name later when I was explaining to him. And she's, oh, you mean sunburn armpits guy?
Exactly. The imaginary
Yeah.
laughter.
Yeah.
We all,
ALS.
yeah, we've all done it.
Yeah.
We all want to look cool. But so fine, flex a little bit, but don't do it all the time, man. Just learn to put that weight down. Learn to have a little more awareness of what you're doing with your body at all times. And life just improves. So yeah, back to your question. Is this as far as the benefits of ultra low intensity movement? It's just to get you to make the rest of your life so much easier. Right? Why walk around like that? And then take that level of sensitivity awareness into the performance stuff that you care about, like boarding, CrossFit, Olympic lifting, martial arts, dance, whatever it is. And you realize that even in those endeavors, you're working way harder than you need, right? And so you take away all that extra, what Feldenkrais called parasitic tension. And then everything else becomes so much easier. I often point people to, if you're looking at a great athlete, there's some brilliant Roger Federer, Michael Jordan, Serena Williams, whoever it is, you don't necessarily admire the effort. You admire the mastery and the degree to which they make a hard thing look really easy. And they make
Oh,
a
yeah.
hard thing look easy because it is easy to them relative to you or me trying to blast 110 miles serve across. They can make it work because everything is working together. Right? So if that's the ultimate goal, if we're all on some level shooting for the pinnacle of really high performance, really high efficiency, then our training should include an element where we're working for effortlessness. We're working for greater ease, greater efficiency, not just, okay, how many presses can I do with the crappiest form imaginable to get this weight up, but rather how much work can I do with as little effort as possible? Because that's what Michael Jordan can do. That's what could do back in the day. That's what all this great athletes could do. And you can immediately recognize that as human beings, you immediately can go, that is beautiful. Just like you can recognize someone who's not doing it well, right? Who's got asymmetry in the way they move or some kind of hitch or some kind of limp or something. We can recognize the beauty of the coordination and the balance and the ease as well. And I think that's where we should all be trying to go. And low intensity work is, I think, a very efficient way of doing it.
Yeah. The examples I always think of is the high speed film of Usain Bolt or high level sprinters running where everything is super fluid. And yes, he has a little bit of asymmetry, whatever. But even their face, like their lips are moving around because their face is so relaxed, but yet they're destroying everyone on output. You know what I mean? It's not like they're slow, right? Because a lot of times I think there's this thing where effort equals outcome, but
Yeah.
it's true, but only to a point where their sport is all designed about efficiency and everything is time, right? So it's very clear who won the race and who didn't for whatever race. I also think of like American football, receiver catching a pass with both feet in bounds, just falling out of bounds or even outstretched as they're doing it. They just make it look like, oh yeah, this is just what we do. Okay, that's crazy to see. Or
Yes.
even certain running backs. Obviously, I'm a Vikings fan, so Dalvin Cook does crazy jump cuts and stuff that he makes look easy, but then you realize he makes other elite players miss. So it's wow, that's or I always think of Barry Sanders back in the day, right? How far he could be overextended on just like his left big toe. And he played for the Lions. The Lions were horrible and he still did really well.
Not a lot of help.
Yeah.
Add to the American football. Just add to that that it's in the moment and it's improvised. Usain Bolt gets to practice that 100 meters
Yep.
basically in competitive conditions pretty much whenever he wants. Whereas Barry Sanders back in the day, or these amazing running backs, they could practice, but it's like you said, is it going to be exactly the angle that, Kirk Cousins around just throws the ball with exactly? No, it's never going to be. So they're
Yeah.
figuring it out in the moment, in split second time, how to keep their feet in while they're catching the ball, while they're avoiding the tackle and everything else. And how do I keep my contract for next year and everything else that they've got going in their lives? Yeah, it's quite astonishing. But yeah, so when you're talking about athletes of that kind of level of elite performance, it's a kind of a whole different bag. But I do think that you and I and normal mortal people can get closer to that
Yes.
if we just keep refining.
Principles are the same.
Yeah, principles, absolutely.
So would you say that Feldenkrais is working to paradoxically increase unconscious feedback by using a conscious method? Because correct me if I'm wrong, but the practice is very conscious, very focus driven, a little bit that I've seen and worked with people.
Yeah.
But I don't think that is the end goal. I think the end goal is to take that information, have it as a matrix word, uploaded to your nervous system, so that when you leave that practice, you have a better maybe map of where your body is, better proprioception, that your physical map of where you are in space is much better, so that your unconscious movement is easier. Would that be a fair statement?
That's a very good statement. Yeah, I think you go from breaking things down very consciously. So you dial up that awareness, like what's the big toe doing? What's the ankle doing? What's the knee doing? And then when we add movement to it, how do those pieces come together? How do all those disparate 625 muscles of the body, how do they all kind of orchestrate? You can't walk around like that, right? I mean, your head would explode, right? So yeah, you're practicing. I mean, it's akin to I play piano badly, but all right, if I first start playing a piece, it's a mess, and I got to go one note at a time, and one finger at a time, and one little note at a time, all tied together. But if I work on it for way too long, but for me, in my case, a really long time, then it actually sound pretty good and sound like music. I'm not thinking about what all those fingers are doing. It's very much the same kind of principle. But again, it's not a principle that we often apply in the fitness world because we're thinking of the separation between the mind and the body, right? We typically think I'm working this muscle. You're not thinking I am teaching the conductor in my head to conduct all these 625 musicians of muscles to put them together with a greater harmony, have them behave and activate in a more synthesized way. So yes, in the Feldenkrais session, if I'm coaching someone, or if I'm moving them, when I'm in work with language and I'm saying moving your arm or just gently turning your head or something, that immediately is going to draw your attention to, okay, how do my cervical vertebrae kind of all work together? How does this one affect that one all the way down? And you might not consciously understand quite what's going on, but you're sensing things with just greater awareness, greater attunement, so that when you stand up and you leave the session, absolutely, that carries through because your body is attracted to efficiency. If you drive home or really circumvent that roundabout route and someone shows you, you know what, there's a service road that just goes in a straight line, you're never going to do that route
Yeah.
again. going to go on the service route. In the same way with the nervous system, it's like I show your nervous system, or a practitioner shows you, or you learn it yourself through an awareness and movement lesson where I'm just coaching you through, and you just are aware, and you go, oh wow, I can move this shoulder blade in this kind of cool coordination with my ribs, and I can get way more extension on the arm than I could before. That's new down or uploaded information. Use your matrix work. And so you'll never do your habitual parasitic tension way ever again. You'll go, oh, I can have 6 more inches of reach on my, maybe it's just reaching across your desk, or maybe it's throwing your jab. You have way more reach then. Absolutely. Yeah. So the nervous system lights up and goes, oh, we like this. This is easier. Right. As opposed to some methods where it's actually the opposite. So you have to constantly be thinking. I mean, some postural methodologies are about like, hold the shoulder blades back,
Yeah.
sit up really tall and put up a lot of tension in your lower back. And then 2 seconds later, you're going to be
Yeah.
flat. But if you spend a few minutes or an hour doing a Feldenkrais lesson where, which is about the position of the pelvis or about the position of the shoulder girdle, then your body's immediately going to fall into that much more easily than it would if you're doing something with a lot of tension.
Yeah. Years ago, I used to get in these debates with postural people and the pain
Yeah.
people. And my question was, okay, so if I don't have the best posture in the world and I'm sitting like this,
Yeah.
and my scapular retractors are so weak, how come I can pull myself into the right position? How come it doesn't stay there? And they're like, oh, they're just so weak, they can't hold it there for long periods of time. And I'm like, yeah, maybe in some cases, but I don't think that's true in most people. And so I agree with you. I think it's the nervous system trying to find the most efficient position for you. That doesn't mean
Yeah.
that's the most efficient position for physics. It just means for your physiology, your wiring, your connections, your nervous system, whatever, that's more efficient for you at that time. But
Yeah.
like you said, I think there's always another level. And if you can do something and demonstrate and allow the body to have a greater capacity, the amazing part to me, especially with breathing even, it'll want to be more efficient, right? The
Yeah.
fact that I can work on someone for 2 hours and that breathing pattern will stay pretty good for a period of time, and you watch it immediately switch over because you want to be more efficient. It couldn't do that thing before, right? So now you're enabling it, like the service analogy, which I like. You've given it another thing to do, and it's going to take the thing that's more efficient because that's just how we're wired physiologically.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Save energy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The postural thing is interesting. And Feldenkrais talked about posture, and he was like, he didn't even like the word posture. He tried to create a new word, which was action, right? Posture is the position, a held position. And he just believed, and I think it's true, we're always in movement. We're always in
Mhm.
motion to some extent. And so he was like, is this a good posture? If I'm trying to reach over and and grab
Yeah.
something from the ground, then it's a really good posture. It's absolutely perfect posture, right? So with him, it was never like most postural things. It's like they show you from the side what the person is supposed to look like. Your head's supposed to be over this.
Mhm.
It's supposed to be okay. In maybe certain limited situations, that's a good posture. But if you're in motion all the time and you're trying to accomplish things, move and express yourself, then you might move through that. But then there are many other postures that are perfectly acceptable and good. I think it's just something a little bit like it's too aesthetically driven. We're
Mhm.
supposed to be like this because this is how mannequins stand or something. A good slouch feels really good sometimes, as long as you have other options, right? As long as you're not
Yeah.
forever stuck in this thoracic flexion kind of thing, then I think you're okay.
Yeah. And last part, that's just the PRI Ron Haraskos talked a lot about. Can you reciprocate? Can you get into the position and get out of the position?
Yeah.
Right. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. We tend to look at static stuff, but we're always in motion. We're a little bit asymmetrical. But can you get into a beneficial position or to tie your shoe, whatever? And then can you get out of that position? You don't want to get stuck in any one position, whether that's a gait, left stand, swing phase, or whatever. You
Yeah.
want to be able to get in and get out and have that amount of variability.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's absolutely true. Yeah. And it's interesting what's the modality you practice or you work on with people?
I do primarily RPR, reflexive performance reset, and then I do
Okay.
some, it's called deactivated therapy, where I do more of the hands-on portion, which is Doug Yield stuff.
Nice, nice. Okay, I'll have to look into that one. It's not one I'm terribly familiar with, but when you're working with the Feldenkrais method, so at the beginning, if I'm working with someone hands-on, I have them stand and I'll typically stand behind them and you just do a little shift, put the hands on the hips. I don't know if you have this in your method, but you do a little shift left and right, and you do maybe a little shift to the shoulders left and right, and maybe just a little bit of the head. And at the beginning, most people are really rigid. So they don't have a lot of one of your phrases, fine scale variability, right?
Yeah.
There's not a lot of fine scale variability. They're too rigid. So they don't shift left to right or rotate or do lateral movement either, lateral flexion. And then you do an hour, 45 minutes, whatever it is, of Feldenkrais with them. And then they stand up and they're like a sapling, right?
Yeah.
So it is soft. So it's like they're not, if a strong breeze were to hit them, they wouldn't fall over. They would just roll with it. And then, like you said, that's restoring that degree of fine scale postural variability, it's just really important as far as just function and health and injury prevention and all that wonderful stuff we're trying to get.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much for all your
Hey,
time and great discussion today. Where can people find out more about you?
I'm fairly active on Instagram. Andrew Heffernan Fitness is my handle. I did want to say that if anybody listens to this wanted to get to some direct experience of the Feldenkrais method, they can hit me up. Just send me an email, which you can put in your show notes, but it's Andrew Heffernan at AOL.com.
Oh boy. AOL.
Being the last person in California, I'm also the last person at AOL. Andrew Heffernan at AOL.com, and you can get access to Feldenkrais lessons on my Patreon page, and I'll give you that for 4 weeks if you're interested. So those are the places.
Yeah. Awesome. I'd highly encourage people to check that out. I think it'd be very useful for a lot of people, and especially if they're in your area and they can get some practice in person, just like training, just like anything else. Obviously, online stuff can be useful, but I think if you can get access to somebody in person, that's even more valuable. So I would highly encourage people to check that out. So thank you so
Thank
much for all your time. I really appreciate it. It was great
Pleasure.
chatting with you again.
Likewise. Take care,
Yeah.
Mike.
Cool, man. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much to Andrew for coming on the podcast today, and hope you enjoyed our kind of wide-ranging discussion here. As I said at the end, if you have the opportunity to work with him in person, I would highly recommend it. He has other services too I would recommend checking out. So thank you so much, as always, for listening to the podcast. We really appreciate it. For more information on nutrition regarding the Flex Diet certification, you can go to flexdiet.com, FLEXDIET.com, for all of the information there. It will be opening again in early January 2023. So make sure to sign up on the wait list there for all the information. Go to flexdiet.com. Thank you once again, as always, for listening to the podcast. If someone you think may enjoy this podcast, please forward it to them. We appreciate any and all reviews, as it helps bump us up in the old algorithms. Thank you again. Talk to you next week. And if you wanted to hang around and listen to some outtakes from the start of our conversation, I decided to leave them in, and I just stuck them here at the very end of the outro after the outro. So if you're interested in some fitness stuff and what's been going on here in South Padre, kiteboarding, dolphins, etc., you can enjoy these last few minutes here of the outtakes from the podcast.
Good morning. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Excellent. How's life in Minnesota?
Pretty good. We're still down in South Padre.
How's the kiteboarding?
It's been good. It was windy yesterday. I wasn't able to get out just due to work stuff, and we're leaving here tomorrow morning.
Okay.
But it was good. I got in a fair amount of sessions. I felt like I got to go out most of the time. Schedule wasn't too bad. Having to work in the evenings is fine and stuff, but it was good. I was trying to get a goal of a 20-foot jump vertical, and I
Yeah.
got close. I broke my PR on a small kite. I got a 17.2 on a tiny 9 meter, and then I got a 17.7 on my bigger 13.5 meter. So that was progress, and got a new distance PR, and got more jumps over 10 and 15 feet. So definitely made a lot of progress and got close. Got to kiteboard with dolphins, so that was pretty amazing.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that was
The
like,
dolphins were kiteboarding as well. That's impressive.
yeah, they were next to like 200 feet from me.
Nice. Now,
Yeah.
does everybody who kiteboards, is it an activity that a lot of people are really into the data for, or are you more unique in that regard?
It depends. Like there's this like little bit of a penis waving contest of who can jump higher than somebody else. So there definitely is some of that. And it's nice to have a metric to actually compare and you're using the same metric. So it's yeah. So that's fun. Some people don't. It just depends. I'd say more people do some basic measurements now, which has been fun because it's like a fun competition. You actually have data to say who actually won and who didn't. Because otherwise, like, you could be like, oh, I did this 60-foot jump out there. It's like, yeah, sure you did, buddy. Nobody saw it. Nobody can vouch for it.
Yes, it's the Strava thing, right? You gain,
Yeah.
lose, right, bragging rights, but you also lose some of the kind of big fish stories. You should have seen me last July or whatever.
Yeah, the caveat is it doesn't tell you if you landed it.
Oh,
So at
I
some
see.
point, there was this, I even had this in my own head. I'm like, man, it's pretty tempting if there's high enough wind the next day just to do one, just to say I broke it and have no prayer of landing it. Ah, God, I don't know. I'm past the point where I don't know if I want my body to cash those checks that my ego wants to write.
Yeah, yeah. No, after a while, there's definitely. I just went to my son's really into basketball.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we went to he'll be in high school next year. So we're doing the LA nightmare of trying to figure out where he's going to go to high school. And to some extent, it's about pulling strings and about, it's a whole nightmare. But we've gone to a couple basketball and in LA, I guess maybe just all over, eighth grade basketball is really fast.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, kids are practically done at that.
Damn, that's crazy.
Yeah. When talking about those big high schools of 3,000 kids, some of them have recruited kids from all over. You get a team that looks like a mini D1 team. But anyway, I was watching, I was going, I'm in good shape. And I was like, I would not want to throw it out with those kids. Like my knees just cry out just watching it. But I'm looking forward to my son being able to do it.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
And you're one of the rare people I know who still lives in LA. I think you might be the only person I know who still lives in California, other than a few holdouts in San Diego, but that's like a different country now almost.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. Yeah. That's a big fitness area. Yeah. Ben Bruno still lives out here. Do you know him?
Oh, that's right. He's number 2, but
Yeah.
I heard a rumor he
Yeah.
may not be staying for long. Anyway, that
Oh,
was just a rumor.
maybe you're
I shouldn't
more.
be saying anything.
I am. He came in and he really made an early impression. He's training like Justin Timberlake and all these
Yeah.
guys, Lakers and everything. And I was like, man, you crushed it right off the bat. That's interesting. He's thinking about leaving. And then Chad Waterbury's still around.
Oh, he is. Okay. I haven't heard from Chad in years, so I know he's been there quite a while.
Yeah, he goes under the radar and then he'll resurface and go, hey, and you go, okay, still around.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, those are the two kind of big industry guys that I know. And then, of course, there's a bunch of trainers and stuff swinging their little shingle out there.
I have a good mind to go home.
You had a good mind, you wouldn't be here in the first place.